As the Diddy trial is opening up, people keep making this all about Diddy rather than looking at everything that's happening around it. There's a lot of people that want to protect the Diddy agenda because it serves them, because allegedly they're all accomplices. Like I said last year, after the Cassie Diddy case was made public for the world to see on CNN.
If Kim Porter hadn't done what she done, there would be no Cassie to testify.
You know, Mr. Combs, SC and SC, thing 1 and thing 2. They've been covering each other's ass a long time, guys. Y'all don't see what's going on? The death of Angie Stone, Clive Davis, Diddy, Rock Nation on the verge of utter collapse. What happened to Tory? Find a way to blame it on him. Now all of a sudden he was trying to start a race. Just so happens that he gets half the day. As the Diddy trial is opening up,
Jaguar Wright isn't letting Diddy catch a single breath. She just stormed into his trial and dropped tapes that left the entire courtroom gasping. And these weren't just any videos. They allegedly show Diddy getting real inappropriate with Bryshere Gray when he was just 17. But here's the kicker. Jaguar's been calling him out for years. Long before any arrest, long before the headlines. She's been screaming about what went down behind closed doors, and now that it's all spilling into the spotlight, she's not backing down. Not for a second.
Feel too embarrassed to file his lawsuit against Diddy for what Will and Diddy did to him. With Jaden and Justin present, that tape
Now fast forward. Bryshere's out here on Twitter, barely holding it together, selling content on OAF just to survive. This man had real star potential. He could have been the next big thing in Hollywood. But according to Jaguar Wright, Diddy, and even Will Smith, allegedly used him one after the other. And once they were through, they reportedly passed him around the industry like he was nothing. Cat Williams wasn't lying when he said, Diddy's parties ain't just parties. You gotta know when to say no. And if you're still in the dark about what really happened to Bryshere Gray, buckle up. He was just 17 when he got placed into a so-called mentorship program with Diddy and Will Smith. But let's be real. Jaguar Wright says this wasn't about mentorship at all. It was exploitation, plain and simple.
Oh, they do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mills, Bryshere Gray, left that house screaming. August the only one that stayed, and I guess he was really sick. He needed a dog.
Bryce's former manager, Charlie Mack, had big dreams for him. Diddy was supposed to shape his music career, while Will Smith was lined up to take his acting game to the next level. But according to Jaguar Wright, those dreams? Nothing but smoke and mirrors. She claims that so-called mentorship was just a cover, a carefully packaged lie used to allegedly exploit him behind the scenes. By the time they were done, Bryce wasn't just off track. He was mentally and spiritually destroyed. Jaguar dropped this bomb when she directly called out Diddy and Will for weaponizing mentorships, turning them into setups to lure in young boys chasing stardom, only to allegedly pull them into twisted, behind-the-scenes freak-off situations. And then came one of her wildest claims. She said it got so out of hand one night, Bryce, or Gray, and Meek Mill were heard by Will Smith's own neighbors, screaming with no clothes on, running out of his house like they had just escaped something insane. No one knows for sure what went down inside, but word is that so-called freak-off had been going for hours, so extreme it reportedly left them drifting in and out of consciousness. And with Cassie recently revealing that her own freak-offs with Diddy sometimes lasted up to 4 days straight, suddenly, this rumor didn't sound so far-fetched anymore.
You know, but when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual energy that has always been pushing through. Like if a woman gives up her womanly right, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man.
Here's where it gets even darker. Jaguar says Bryce wasn't the only one caught in this twisted cycle. Meek Mill allegedly got swept up in it too. According to her, the people in power knew exactly what they were doing, targeting rising stars, making big promises, and then slowly breaking them down until the only thing they had left was silence. Jaguar claims these young men were chosen not just for their talent, but for their vulnerability. And once they were in, there was no easy way out. Every time someone tried to speak up or step away, they were either silenced, blackballed, or worse, left mentally shattered. She even hinted that there were people behind the scenes watching, keeping tabs on them, making sure they stayed quiet and loyal no matter what went down. This wasn't mentorship. This was control.
One of the stars of the hit show Empire. Tonight we're seeing hours of new video from his July arrest that ended with his wife flagging down police and telling them the actor had her for hours inside their Goodyear home. The bizarre jailhouse interview lasting for 2 hours as they try to piece together a chaotic chain of events.
There are whispers, deep, unsettling whispers, about contracts that had nothing to do with music or acting and everything to do with control. And once those lines got crossed, there was no going back. Now here's where it gets even messier. Terrence Howard, who starred alongside Bryshere Gray on Empire when he first got introduced to Diddy and Will, recently made some cryptic comments. He spoke about major industry figures allegedly sleeping with young men in exchange for favors. And instantly, people started connecting the dots. Many believe he was subtly calling out what happened to Bryce. Because let's be honest, after Bryce exited that so-called mentorship, he was never the same. There was no real support, no guidance, no career launch pad. He vanished from the spotlight almost overnight. No major roles, no big moves, just silence. And then chaos. The next time we heard about Bryshere, it wasn't on a red carpet. It was in a courtroom that in 2022, he was arrested and convicted for aggravated assault against a woman he was involved with. But that wasn't the first red flag. Back in 2020, a shocking incident broke. His wife had to flee to a gas station, begging strangers for help. That's when people even realized he was married. A stranger had to step in to protect her. She later told police Bryce had strangled her. When officers showed up to arrest him, he refused to come out. It got so serious, a full SWAT team was called in. They had to negotiate for hours before he finally surrendered. And when that mugshot dropped, people were stunned. Bryce looked gone, like a hollowed-out version of who he used to be. And just when it felt like the story couldn't get darker, Jaguar Wright resurfaced. This time, she wasn't just pointing fingers. She came armed with even more explosive claims. She doubled down, saying it was Charlie Mack who personally connected Bryce to those powerful men behind the scenes. But here's the twist that left everyone speechless.
And when I say Andy, I'm talking about Bryshere's mom. I'm going to kick you in your and I'm going to go to work North Philly style. You and Charlie, you happy now? He's a gay star. Are you happy now, Andy? For a book that didn't sell. I hope that new husband of yours leaves you. And maybe it's time you tell your son why his father is really in jail, his biological father, for all of his life and what you had to do with it. You CI that came to me and begged me for my help. I told her to get the away from Charlie. I did everything that I could do to help her get Bryshere out of California into Chicago State to be ready for filming. She knew what Will did to him. Out so he'll feel too embarrassed to file his lawsuit against Diddy for what Will and Diddy did to him, with Jaden and Justin present, that tape exists.
Okay.
I really hope none of that baby oil was used on those kids. That would just be a bad taste. Baby oil on babies.
You can't say that the flavor cap was sponsored by Johnson & Johnson. You just come on. Come on.
Starting to sound that way, ain't it?
No.
All that talent, and she let Charlie tune that boy up on, knowing that he was bipolar and had ADHD. What kind of mother would do that to her son? Turn him into a prostitute so you could pretend to be something more than what you are, which is nothing more than a filial. You're a big old and they're making your son out to be, that's for sure. Because he didn't have no choice. You was down by all. I'm sorry. The Bryshere conversation for me is not easy. Because I came to Belial and I asked Belial to help me save the kids, and all he was worried about was book.
Jaguar didn't just drop bombs. She detonated the entire foundation. She claimed that Charlie Mack couldn't have connected Bryce to anyone without one key person's approval. Bryce's own mother, Andrea Mayberry. Yeah, you heard that right. Jaguar said Bryce's mom was in on it, that she allegedly let it all happen, looked the other way while her son was being served up to powerful men under the illusion of mentorship. And Jaguar wasn't done swinging. She revealed that right after Cassie filed her explosive lawsuit against Diddy, Bryshere Gray was getting ready to do the same. According to Jaguar, he was allegedly preparing a massive case, not just against Diddy, but against both Diddy and Will Smith. But just as his lawyers were getting deep into the prep, Bryce suddenly pulled out. Why? Jaguar says it was because his life was in danger. That's how high the stakes were. Then came one of her wildest claims yet, and it stopped people cold. Jaguar said there's a secret tape out there, a freak-off involving Justin Bieber, Will Smith, Jaden Smith, Diddy, and Bryce. And she didn't just hear about it. She claimed she's actually seen it with her own eyes. Once that claim hit the airwaves, folks started connecting the dots. The story lined up with a rumored $50 million lawsuit Bryce was allegedly building behind the scenes. The first whispers came from a blind item that shook the industry. It read, "I suspect the soon-to-step-forward male victim of this A-list mogul will not be the last man to do so." That mogul? Sean Diddy Combs. And about those explosive tapes Jaguar marched into court with? Word is they didn't end up being played in front of the jury, but that doesn't mean they vanished. Because Jaguar, she handed them over directly to the prosecutors. This isn't just drama anymore. This is a ticking time bomb. And it's only a matter of time before it goes off.
I do believe there's going to be a lot of curveballs. I do believe there's going to be a lot of interesting things. And what I will say is, be vigilant. We're getting started.
Is this a reckoning for the music industry?
Oh, it needs to be. And if it wasn't, I hope my presence starts that.
Reports say the prosecutors are actively working to subpoena Bryshere Gray. Yeah, they want him on the stand, testifying under oath against Diddy. And now, all eyes are back on Bryce. People are asking, will he finally speak out? Or has he been scared into silence like so many others caught in this twisted game? Sources close to the case say the feds are pushing hard, especially with the kind of footage Jaguar Wright allegedly handed over. But there's one huge obstacle: Bryce's mental state. Insiders claim he's been unstable for years. Some blame the trauma. Others say he's so heavily medicated just to stay level that testifying might not even be possible. But here's the thing: if he does take that stand, it could change everything. Jaguar, meanwhile, is making it loud and clear she's not backing down. She's already said what the world knows is just the tip of the iceberg. According to her, there are more tapes, more victims, and even bigger names involved. And while Diddy's camp is allegedly working overtime, trying to shut this all down, silence witnesses, apply pressure, spin the narrative. This time it might be too late. Because with new names popping up and the internet on fire, this might be the one scandal Diddy can't buy his way out of. And let's talk about Jaguar's entrance. Right before she stepped into that courtroom, she pulled up like she was walking into war. Security team deep, bodyguards on both sides, eyes scanning the perimeter, ready for anything. Word is she came fully prepared in case Diddy's people tried to press her on site. And honestly, with how loud she's been in this case, there's no way his inner circle didn't spot her from a mile away. And you can bet, they weren't thrilled to see her show up.
That happened in the R. Kelly case, because if that had been properly addressed, this would have been addressed back then. These people have been working together, all in cahoots for all of this time, and it needs to all be addressed. I'm glad it's not just me anymore. I'm glad it's someone else. I'm glad there are other people who need to be heard. I'll be sure. I'm glad they're hearing him, Cassie. I'm glad they're hearing her, Kim Porter. Through, I'll be sure. I'm glad. Natanya Rubin, I'm glad. All of these things. So yeah, it's mixed emotions, but I just know when you pray for something and God answers it, you should be happy.
Jaguar's made it crystal clear. Diddy's fall? It's not just about him. She says once he goes down, it's going to trigger a domino effect that'll collapse everything hiding in Hollywood's darkest corners. And she's not stopping, not until every single one of them gets dragged into the light. Jaguar even blasted the authorities, calling out the system for sleeping on this for years. She said if the R. Kelly case had been taken seriously, if they had really connected the dots back then, Diddy would have already been exposed. Because according to Jaguar, he was allegedly running the same kind of game. It's wild that it took Cassie's lawsuit to finally shake the system awake. But the moment they looked into Diddy, it was like ripping open Pandora's box. Layers of darkness started pouring out, secrets that should have come to light years ago. And now the people are speaking up. One comment said, "Absolutely come forth. What they did to him was horrific and wrong. He should reclaim his life, seek mental help, get compensation, and rise like a phoenix. Broke my heart to see the damage they caused.